Hey, soul family, how y'all doing? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome back. If you are, part of the soul familia, what's up? I did miss you guys a lot, a lot, a lot. I've been away for a few days. Well, I've been still here in the house, but I've been away from the channel for a few days, and I genuinely miss you guys. I feel like Lemony Snicket. I had a series of events. The first day that I was away from you all was, I mentioned it in another video, the Independence Day video, was because of memory issues on my phone. The second day that I was away, once I thought I had almost gotten the memory issue straightened out, I was listening to, I was looking for something else entirely and was led to a video on a sister's channel that, like I said, I was looking for something completely different, but the video gut punched me so hard. She had two of them that I had to really sit back and take some time with. And I will lead, we'll definitely discuss what she's talking about. And I'm going to tag the videos and all of that because I think it's something that's super important that may be beneficial for all of us. I know it was, like I said, it was a spiritual spanking for me, but it is definitely something that I think we need to discuss. So I will be getting that out in a few days. I feel like I'm falling behind because I was so far in my head. There's new something was dropped from Astral Legends and I think Fifth Kind as well. So I'm gonna have to take a look at those. But the thing that I want to talk about right now, the as I was finishing up those videos that really had me in my head thinking about that thing, and like I said, I'm not going to get into the subject matter of that right now. That's a whole separate, I got to prepare for that conversation, and it's another day, but it will be coming sometime within the next few days. But then I got a blast from the past, and I've mentioned them before, and they keep coming back, and it ain't even that I necessarily want to continue to beat that unalive horse, so to speak. But I do mention these things because I am seeing enough people. I get comments about the resonance of what I'm saying in my videos. So I kind of know for some of us, we're kind of, like I said, we genuinely walking each other home and having some of the same kind of resonant experiences. So I definitely wanted to talk about it a little bit. I had, um, well, it was a very toxic friend of mine. It wasn't even an ex. This is not somebody that I've dated before. But I actually came to realize in my healing as I kind of started backing away from things and sitting down in my hermit mode and releasing and reflecting, so to speak. This particular friend was someone who, now he has a crush on me, and I'm not going to say that I don't think his love is real. I think he loves me with the way, with to the best of his ability. But the emotional space that we met and became friends, his love is so toxic that I just could not move forward with it any further in my life, not even in the friend capacity. And I cut him off about 3 years ago. And I had been trying for years to back him out of my space, but he didn't want that. And again, I was weak minded and too much of a people pleaser and kept allowing myself to be sucked back in energetically. I didn't understand the need to cut ties and, do the whole cord cutting thing and all that. I was too naive to understand that the power of the mind is that powerful, especially if you're an imbalanced empath and you got sociopaths and narcissists on your ass. Oh, those are some powerful bonds. And they can keep you stuck a long, long time until you recognize it and do what you need to do spiritually to cleanse yourself, get away from them, and stay away from them. And that it took some time, but I did it. But this particular one, like I said, we were friends for 20 years. And I had to come to realize the only reason we were friends for 20 years, because truthfully, with the way he came at me and as uncomfortable the level of arguments and disagreements and whatever that we had for those 20 years, Our friendship should have been over in 1 week or less, truthfully. And the type of things that he presented to me as who he was and his lifestyle and whatever, the things that titillated him and entertained him and the women that he went after and everything that he ever said to me. If I had been in a healthy headspace, I shouldn't have never allowed him to time a day off of a wall clock. Now, I'm not saying that from a point of arrogance. I'm just keeping it real. There are some people on this planet that are not good people, but they don't know they're not good people. And that was one of them. And even to this day, he will be very offended. He does get offended when I remind him. Like I said, I don't have to be hateful about it, but just reminding him when he keeps trying to come back in my experience and he will say things that are so triggering. I don't have to get aggravated or angry and I don't have to make up anything. I can go back to specific examples of why I feel the way I do and why I'm highly justified in feeling the way I do. So I know I was right. Like I said, I didn't really get peace and start really getting real healing in my life until I got a lot of these toxic people away from me. But I also, in my reflection and in my healing, and it's not just him, it was several others, I came to understand. And I think this is what happens when you start working with unconditional love and forgiveness and that kind of stuff. I also realized that as toxic and as uncomfortable and all of those things that that relationship was, number one, I attracted that from where my energy was initially. And I tolerated it from where my energy was. That level of toxicity and the arguing and the this and the that. I had said I would never have that in my romantic relationships, and I didn't. I can honestly say, thankfully I had some sorry behind men and sorry baby daddies, but I didn't have the beating and the cursing and the fighting, and we had our little disagreements. But my home life was fairly peaceful because I had just said I will not live with that. I had lived hearing my parents screaming, yelling, and cursing at each other every day of my life from the time I was 3 years old. I used to get woke up to the sound of screaming every day. So I refused to live like that. But what I didn't realize is I didn't bring that into my bedroom, but I allowed it in my life by way of my friend instead. So for 20 years, I had an active sparring partner. It got so bad that once my children got grown, I couldn't even talk to this man on the phone inside of none of their houses because he would agitate me that much. They could hear from the tone, the agitation he was bringing up in me. And they were just like, please, no, you can't, you got to take that out. I don't know why you still friends with him. My children said that. I don't know why you still deal with that man, but if you insist on dealing with him, you got to take that out of my house. I can't have that kind of energy in my house. And they had never laid eyes on him, but they knew from the type of person I was when I wasn't around him versus the type of person, the way my energy shifted when I talked to him, they knew he was bad business. And yet I allowed it. When I finally got to a point, and for me, the breaking away of that started coming when, like I said, I did get the romantic partners away. When I started doing tarot, learning healing, and all of that, and the cards kept telling me, release your ex, release your ex. And I'm like, I'm not romantically tied to none of my exes. I ain't sleeping with none of them. It's been forever. I've been celibate forever. But they were still hanging around in that weird let's be friends zone thing. I mean, and two of them I had children with, and one of them, it was still, I didn't understand at the time. He was feeding off my energy for literal physical healing. So even though we weren't romantically tied, he wanted to stick around as a friend. And they all three of them, was trauma dumping and bringing me their new problems with their new women, and all of that was playing on me. So as I began to distance myself from that, then I could see that even though I wasn't romantically tied to this person, this was truthfully by far the most toxic of all of the relationships. And it was truthfully one of the longest running. We were friends for 20 years. 20 years of emotional abuse and torture from somebody that I did not align with their way of being and moving and seeing the world. Somebody who absolutely thumbed their nose at my spirituality, sat there and trauma dumped on me, used me for armchair psychology, and I gave good counsel, the best I knew how, but yet they would turn around and do the exact opposite and then come and whine and trauma dump some more when the very thing that they asked for counsel on and they went and defied it, when it blew up in their face, then they right back at me. This was a vicious cycle until it literally wore me down like a pebble in a riverbed. So I cut it off. But he refuses to stay gone. I did the cord cuttings and he still come back. Calls me at least once a year from a fake, because he don't have my phone number. I refuse to allow it. But will look me up in Messenger or Instagram or whatever and contact me from fake profiles. And I do realize that to some degree, I think that spirit kind of let me get a barometer to see where I'm at in my healing journey. So I've allowed it a couple times. And 2 days ago was one of those scenarios after I was in my head for with that other, like I said, spiritual gut punch, so to speak, literally right on the heels of that, he called. And we had a conversation. And he was trying to convince me how, he wanted to thank me and he understands he wasn't emotionally healthy at the time. He was in a hurt place and blah, blah, blah. But he's so much better now and he's so healed now. And a lot of that he has to thank me for and blah, blah, blah. But he wanted to reconnect. And that's when I accepted all of that and took the thanks. And I'm glad he's doing better and all that. And he wanted to reconnect. Absolutely not. I'm allowing this conversation. This is proof that I've forgiven you. If I had not forgiven you, we would not even be having this conversation. I've forgiven you, but I also understand that our karmic contract is up. And here's the part. And he got upset. He heard me out. I heard him out. He heard me out. And I tried to explain to him, I do understand people get triggered by karmics and they get upset and they're so angry. They're so angry. I'm not even angry with him because I've come to understand that most of those really challenging relationships that we go through in life are high level soulmates. It may feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean it's not a high level soulmate. You, on some level, we made some kind of a cosmic contract to meet up in this space and play out a very important karmic lesson that we needed to play out. Now, there's a number of different ways it could go. And he's upset because he wanted it to go in a romantic bent. And like I told him, honestly, at one point in my life, I was so broken and mentally whatever that if he had even remotely played his cards right, he probably would have been able to win my hand. I even told him what I needed to have happen for that to happen. And he never did any of that. But what he brought to the table, no woman in her right mind would have been able to accept. So I'm not even upset about that. I just, truthfully, I was never attracted to him that way anyway. But again, I wasn't looking for a mate based on physical attraction. Based on what I thought was our friendship, I probably would have allowed it and been miserable. So I'm grateful we didn't go there, but I'm just saying that's something that he wanted, and that could have been a possibility as far as our karmic, cosmic contract, depending on choices that we made. Look at most computer programs have variables, right? If this happens, then that. And a karmic contract is exactly the same way. Two high level soulmates can meet up, whether it's for romance, business, what have you. They can either become the best of friends, They can become lovers who do whatever they do and go their separate ways. They can become lovers who heal and ascend, catalyze growth in each other and stay together as divine counterparts. Or they can, one or the other of them, learn the lesson and ascend and move on. And either way, at that point, at some point, if you at any point, whether they if they stay together, then that's a revision of the contract as well. It however they wind up leaving each other's experience, that's the end of that contract. There are variable clauses in the contract. Excuse me. And in our case, I finally got like I said, life and the people I was dealing with kept literally kicking the slats out from under me. And my people pleasing and wanting not to be alone, the abandonment issues, the daddy issues, the seeking love, the all of there's a number of reasons why, and I ain't got to get knee deep in all of those, but I allowed a lot of really hurtful relationships around me because primarily because of the abandonment issues, childhood traumas that I had gone through and had not recognized and addressed as such. So I had to forgive myself for that and the choices that I made because of it and the things that I allowed and tolerated for that. I literally became a doormat to some very, very toxic people. But once I saw it and began healing from it, and then started distancing myself from those people and was able to kind of shift my energy, started meditating and consistently holding a little bit higher energy and a little bit higher energy and a little bit. I ain't perfect, still got a lot of stuff to work on, but I was able to shift my vibration to a point that I was no longer a match for any of those people. Most of them vibrated out of my life on their own. The rest of them, I finally got the strength to cut it off. And again, it wasn't easy because by the time I actually cut off the most toxic ones, the rest of them that needed to go had vibrated out of my experience. And it was basically down to if I cut these people off, I have nobody left to talk to. Like nobody except my kids, my boyfriend, and like one or two other people. Literally, my 90% of the contacts in my phone are people I have not talked to in over a decade. I really need to go through and clear them all out for real because I don't talk to them. I've got my roommate, one girlfriend, my boyfriend, my children, and one other friend that's well, my mentor. But like I said, those are people that I talk to maybe once every other month, every 3, 4 months. There are less than 5 contacts in my life now, not just in my phone, in my entire life. Less than 5. And I had to learn to be okay with that. So, oh boy, keeps doubling back because he just doesn't want to accept that because and here's the thing he did say and he don't even understand, and this is the part that I wanted to discuss with you all. If you are in a situation like that, I wasn't just telling you that just to have you knee deep in my business that you don't really give a crap about. If that happens to you, look back and reflect on your life and realize part of the reason these people keep doubling back. One, it's a test to see if you really mean what you say and if you've progressed enough. And you'll understand because you'll feel differently about them each time you have to have one of these conversations. Your compassion level will build. You'll begin to see your real purpose in their life. Very often, if that's the case, if everything that I said before kind of resonates with you and most of the people around you been toxic and you wind up having to walk away from all of them, you kind of walk alone now, you were probably a divine catalyst. You had a whole lot of high level soulmates around you to help you learn and graduate from some very painful, very important karmic, toxic, cosmic lessons, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, you may have learned what you needed to learn and graduated beyond. But please understand, even if you didn't see it in the moment because you couldn't see it through your pain, you probably left those people better than you found them. You catalyzed some kind of growth in them as well. So when they do double back to you, that's not to say you're supposed to get back with them. Don't do that to yourself. Please don't. because you're never going to be spiritually ascended enough unless you get a lobotomy or, God forbid, develop Alzheimer's or something. You're not going to be so loftily spiritually advanced that you're not going to remember the hell they took you through. And that's going to always be a sticky point for you that could mess with your energy. Don't do that to yourself. Leave them in the past where they at. Now, when they come up in your face for a review from time to time, you don't have to be nasty to them. You don't have to feel no type of way. You don't have to allow it to trigger you over much. And truthfully, it's kind of a gauge. If they do start triggering you to that level, you know you got a little more work to do. Be nice to them, whatever you got to do. Shut the conversation down, heal, reflect, ascend a little bit. Maybe the next time they spin the block, it'll be an easier conversation. And one of these days, they'll come back and you'll be able to feel, yeah, if they really start going down memory lane, there are certain things you're never going to remember without feeling agitated, but you'll find yourself recovering much quicker. And instead of being truly angry with them, you feel a level of compassion because you realize the fact that they are still saying and doing things to intentionally trigger you like that just means that they haven't grown as much as they think they have. But you're never going to be to where it doesn't bother you at all necessarily. Yeshua got so aggravated with the folks that he built a whip and ran them up out the temple. So it's not saying you're never going to be bothered by anything. No, that's not what spirituality don't require that. But you'll be able to recognize what they're doing, and it's almost like talking to a child. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or look down on them, but truthfully, if you learn your spiritual lessons that you were supposed to learn from that karmic soulmate and they didn't, when they reconnect with you, it's like talking to a child. And you understand that, you wish them well. And something else I want to call to your attention. At that point, you don't have to mince your words over much. Now, I'm not saying let them have it, blast them. Sometimes you got to talk to them in the language that they can understand. And I've done that too. But you can still tell, you can speak your truth and help them see, because they might not get it right then. They might still be offended, and it might even lead to a little bit of an argument. I ain't saying stand there and allow yourself to get back into a dirt slinging match with them entirely, but speak your truth. If you're put in that situation, you're not going to go out looking for these people, but they do have a tendency to keep coming back because they do want back in your energy. Oh, your energy is delicious. And especially if they're still healing, they do understand you were the best thing that ever happened to them. They do understand you were the purest soul they've ever met. They do understand that they may never meet another one like you. And so most of them will continue to try to get back into your experience. They're going to say these things to you too. And please don't let your ego be so turned by that that you're tempted to come back in, even in that great teacher capacity. If you got a platform or whatever, by all means, don't block them. Allow them to hear your message, but you don't need to be in that close personal space to benefit them. They're going to convince you that they do. They're going to try to convince you that they do. They need your phone number. They need personal access to you. No, the hell they don't. They do not. That's detrimental to your healing. And regardless of whether it's beneficial for their healing or not, their healing is their own journey to deal with. If you being around them on a regular basis is detrimental to your healing, and it is, then they have to go find their healing wherever they can find it. That is not part of your karmic contract. And that's the part they're not going to like, but that's the part you're going to have to stick to your guns. But you do realize that a lot of these people, as painful as their lessons were, they were put in your life for you to learn certain lessons, but you were put in their lives to catalyze growth, to trigger ascension in them. Whether they caught up to your level and speed or not, doesn't matter. You helped move the needle on their ascension journey. So what they took you through was not for nothing. And I can honestly say I've seen growth in all of my exes and former friends and whatevers that come back. I've had people that did really hateful things to me come back 30 years later asking for my forgiveness. I had went on about my business and I mean, I didn't think about them every day. I can't say I completely forgot it because there's some stuff that happened, but it wasn't anything that was on my mind until they came back seeking my forgiveness. But it bothered them for so long because they knew I had never deserved that. And once they got to a point where, truthfully, once they begin to heal, some of the things that I said or did may not have kicked in right then, but later on, when the needle started moving, it bothered them that they had unjustly done those things to me. And 25, 30 years later, they come back and ask for forgiveness. And of course, I'm going to give it to them. No, that don't mean we got to be friends no more because we wasn't never friends to start with. There's a lot of toxic relationships that call themselves friends, but guess what? They ain't friendly. Friends don't treat each other like that. Stop accepting that toxic maltreatment in the name of friendship and calling those people friends. They ain't your friends. They don't even know how to be friends to themselves. And when you run across people, it was like that. And that's what I told him because he's saying, I'm better now. We could move forward now. No, you never showed me enough. In 20 years, you never showed me anything that I should have even walked forward with you for 20 years for. I definitely ain't finna walk off and make it 21. I'm glad you're better. I'm glad you're healed. God bless. Have a beautiful life. I wish every happiness for you. But can we reconnect? Oh, no, 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 no. Because I finally love myself enough to know that people pleasing toxic people is displeasing to me, and that can never be anymore. That part. So, anyway, I just really wanted to kind of reflect that for you because we often hear about the pain of the toxic relationships. I go into tarot channels all the time where people are so, you can hear in their comments they are so hurt and bitter about what their karmics have done. But learn to be like Gandhi. I thank those who caused me pain, for they are my teachers. Once you've actually truly graduated from the lesson, don't allow that pain to keep you stuck because that's all that's happening. They ain't even in your daily experience no more. So if you're still angry and harboring resentment and all that, they're living rent free in your head. Don't allow that. Heal, forgive, release, let it go. Because they're either going to wear their karma or they will learn the lesson and graduate just like you did. And isn't that what you really want for them anyway? I know it's what it was I wanted for him. That's the only reason that he can even still call me from time to time because I have to acknowledge that there is some part of me that would like proof of life, if you will, or some kind of would like to know that those people did kind of heal and grow and ascend, mature up out of those toxic behaviors. Sometimes I get that evidence and sometimes I don't. Usually, if they keep talking long enough, they'll revert back. But then, too, you also have to realize part of that is because you still remember the old version of them. And they make you remember the old version of you. And if you stand there and continue talking to those people long enough, you can both reactivate those old versions that should have been they were discarded, but they're never truly gone. Like I said, unless you got a lobotomy, you remember and they will, especially if they're not quite healed and just trying to walk the walk to make you convinced that they're healed because they're trying to get back in your energy so they can suck your delicious energy for their own healing. If you talk to them long enough, you'll catch their slip hanging. They're going to say something that's going to trigger you, and the old them will surface and resurrect the old you. So I do encourage you, when they pop back up, keep those encounters brief. Don't allow those people back in your life. Learn what you need to learn. Give them a further lesson if you can. If you feel tempted to try to help them, or you know that they need your help or they're wanting your help or whatever, if there's a lesson you have, a platform, a workshop, a teacher you can point them to, a book you read, whatever it is, disseminate that wisdom to them and keep it moving. Because other than that, it's going to be a problem. But anyway, I did that, and after I got that part out of my head, like I said, I didn't. We were on the phone for a while, and then I had to reflect on it, and just want to be okay with that. I don't ever want to bring a jacked up energy into my messages for you all or into my readings or anything. So I just needed to sit with it and process it so I could speak about it. I knew I wanted to speak about it, but I needed to be able to speak about it from a higher perspective than, well, honestly, I can't even say nothing because I wasn't even angry when I got off the phone. Oh, trust me, he tried to pluck my nerve, and I wound up having to speak to him in the language that he could understand. But it didn't last, it didn't stick. I wasn't truly angry. I was quickly able to get back to me, but I was able to put a firm line in the sand. I'm like, I don't care how you want to explain it or how you want to whatever. No, we're not doing this. Because truthfully, and I gave him an analogy that deeply offended him, but it made the point that way he could understand. When your toxic, karmic exes, ex friends, people that did you dirty, all the rest of that stuff that drug you through all that trauma that kept you bound and in a hurt place for years, when they come back and want back in your energy, that's no different than somebody who had been an alcoholic, getting drunk, and get in their car and unalive your child or your family member or someone you love very much. And then they think that because they've paid their time, done their time, went to AA or whatever they needed to do, and you say you forgave them, then they want to jump back in your life and be your best buddy, Ace Boone Coon again. You can forgive them, but you're never going to see them the same. You're going to always see them as the people that chose to get drunk and get behind the wheel and unalive somebody you love very much. Why would you want to pal around with a person like that, even if you forgave them? It's no different than your toxic karmics wanting to spin the block so they can be friends in your zone. They were never your friends, or they wouldn't have treated you that way. Now, they got all the reasons and excuses in the world. Hurt people, and they wasn't mentally healthy, all of that, and that's fine. Not saying they didn't. Not saying you weren't emotionally damaged too. But at the end of the day, once you're in a better place, even if they are in a better place, you connected with a version of them that was not healed and whole when you were not healed and whole. You don't need to rake that misery back into your system. Let it go. Celebrate your healing and theirs, and love them from way across town. That's my been there, done that, got the t-shirt, common sense wisdom for today. So I'm gonna scoot from here. I'm gonna get these two uploaded because I don't know if I got enough memory on my phone to do the emerald tablets and this video. So I'm gonna upload those and then make some more space on the phone. Then I'll be up for the reading of the emerald tablets. And hopefully, if I don't run out of steam at the end, we'll get a late night tarot reading as well. I owe you guys a love reading as well as a regular reading or two. And I know we're coming up on the weekend, so I probably will be a little reading focused for the weekend. So if you've been missing the readings, never fear, they're on the way. We'll see what's going on in your energy. But until then, in between time, in the meantime, as they say, peace and blessings to you, soul family. I love you. Namaste.